The beauty of nature is everywhere. It's in the fresh morning dew on lush green grass and in the intricate patterns on butterfly wings. Sometimes, however, nature isn't so beautiful. In fact, it can be kind of horrifying. Take the nightmarish sight found by one group of Polish scientists. A former nuclear bunker completely overrun by ants. Copious amounts of creepy, crawly ants is enough to gross you out, but scientists were left aghast when they realized how these very punk rock ants were managing to survive. Back in 2013, Polish scientists went on an expedition to observe bats they thought were nesting in an abandoned bunker. The spot had been part of a former nuclear facility and was now an overgrown home to various creatures. There, they discovered ants, which were shocking for multiple reasons. There were millions of them crawling around in the bunker, and they were trapped with no resources. Questions started piling up. Scientists believed the ants ended up in their precarious situation through a ventilation shaft. They couldn't find their way out, making them self-contained and desperate to find food and water. The researchers assumed they wouldn't last. When the same team returned 2 years later to check on these ill-fated ants, they discovered something even more impressive. The ants hadn't died off completely or weakened as a colony like they expected. Instead, the ants were thriving with double the numbers of the last time the scientists were there. Still, there was no obvious sources of light, food, or water for these creatures. This left the team stumped as to how they survived. Ants are known to be resourceful and super hardworking little guys. There have been examples of ants founding colonies inside walls or under concrete. Sometimes even deep inside your car's engine. But even for them, this was a stretch. This particular nest was left with no choice, as they were confined to the derelict bunker. They were desperate to keep up their regularly scheduled programming and activities, no matter the cost. So they did the unthinkable. On TV shows, when a character is hungry, the people around them can be seen mutating into absurd items of food. Often a giant chicken leg or some type of baked good. Just when they try to take a bite, the hallucination is usually broken. The ants, though? These trapped ants never stopped picturing their mates as giant chicken legs. They resorted to full-blown cannibalism on the bodies of their dead colony mates. The various ant corpses showed evidence of bite marks from other ants. Interestingly, the cannibalistic wounds were focused on the abdomen area of the fallen ants. The scientists have an explanation for this. Apparently, ants share resources more effectively than any other being on Earth. Sharing is caring, but ants take it to another, deeply upsetting level. Experts say that ants believe the stomach contents of other ants to belong to them as well. Hence the lack of hesitation when it came to devouring a pal. The team that found these ants cites this type of cannibalism as impressive resourcefulness. They so programmed to live and thrive even under conditions going far beyond the limits of the survival of the species. Ants have even been known to survive floods. Post-cannibalism findings, the scientists left a 2x4 in the bunker that would provide a path out for the ants if they chose to take it. Once again, the team left the ants alone for another year. When they got back, more surprises awaited. Scientists returned to a completely empty bunker. The cannibal army of ants evacuated the bunker entirely, hopefully to do more normal ant stuff that doesn't involve cannibalism. For now, the bunker is abandoned and probably haunted by the ghosts of a million ants. On the other hand, there may be an army of cannibal ants, 1 million strong, stalking around somewhere in the Polish forest. The good news, however, is that this unusual situation does give greater insight into general ant behavior for experts in the field. The report on the savage ants states that these findings add a dimension to the great adaptive ability of ants to marginal habitats and suboptimal conditions as the key to understanding their unquestionable eco-evolutionary success. Yes, definitely that. But the idea of ants resorting to cannibalism is unsettling. Mother Nature, though, usually has an answer for everything. There's one insect that can keep these crawlers under control. It's called the Alcan blue butterfly, and you can find it fluttering around meadows throughout Europe. Of course, it mingles with its own kind, but there's another animal it has a very fascinating relationship with. 2 different species of ret ants. One is called Myrmica rubra, and the other is Myrmica ruginatus. You're probably wondering why these two ever interact, and it all starts with a rare plant. The marsh gentian plant is where the Alcan blue butterfly stops off to lay its eggs. There are usually several dozen larvae left after the butterfly finishes laying its offspring. The Alcan blue butterfly is what's known as a brood parasite, meaning it actually has its young raised by an entirely different creature, leaving the parents with little responsibility to care for their wee ones. Those creatures are, you guessed it, the 2 species of ret ants. Both the butterfly and marsh gentian plant are rare, but there are plenty of red ants that storm the flowers once the larvae are left. This fascinating process was studied intensely by a researcher named David Nash from the University of Copenhagen, Denmark, and his team of dedicated colleagues. They compared this babysitting trick to a bird known for the same action. The cuckoo does pretty much the exact same thing as the Alcan blue butterfly. Also considered brood parasites, cuckoos will actually lay eggs in the nests of other birds to have their young raised for them. Once the butterfly leaves the area, large groups of red ants begin to scour the meadows in search of the larvae. There's a specific reason the ants are so attracted to the totally different species. The caterpillars are actually coated in a layer of chemicals that basically mimics the same scent of the red ants. This causes the ants to believe the caterpillars belong to their nest. The ants then begin to tend to the larvae like their own offspring, completely fooled by the scent. But it becomes an even deeper relationship than the ants simply tending to them. They will actually carry the caterpillars back to their hives, convinced they belong there. It might not seem like that big of a problem until you realize what happens once the caterpillars arrive. The ants almost completely abandon taking care of their own young. They put nearly all of their effort into caring for offspring that aren't theirs. Even just a few caterpillars can lead to a nest having no surviving offspring of their own. However, through his team's research, David Nash believes the Myrmica rubra species of red ants will evolve over time to change their scent, so the caterpillar larvae will no longer be cared for by mistake. The species Myrmica ruginitas, though, may not develop the same evolutionary tactic. The Alcan blue butterfly will likely start to only focus on this species once the other becomes too difficult to infiltrate. The caterpillars spend up to 23 months in an ant nest before they emerge from their pupa as a butterfly. The ants, realizing their mistake, immediately attack the winged creature. But the butterfly is more than prepared. Covering the butterfly are protective scales that prevent the ants from inflicting any real damage. Then, they fly away, having successfully duped the entire colony. This bizarre act of nature, however, is just one of many throughout the animal kingdom. 1. Chameleons' tongues are extremely fast. They can go from 0 to 60 miles an hour in a 100th of a second, so they only need 20 milliseconds to snatch their next meals. Their tongues can also be up to twice the length of their bodies. 2. The blue whale is the largest known mammal to ever exist. The largest recorded blue whale was 98.09 feet in length and weighed 173 tons. Their tongues alone are about 3 tons each, which is about twice the weight of a Toyota Camry. 3. Bats can range in weight anywhere from less than an ounce to several pounds. The bones in their legs and feet are so thin that even the smallest of bats' legs are too weak to hold them up. 4. Just as humans have a dominant hand, either right or left, elephants do too. Well, they are either right tusk or left tusk dominant. You can tell which side they favor because one tusk will be more worn down than the other. 5. Hippopotamus sweat acts as a natural sunscreen. Initially, their sweat is clear and dries to a red-orange color, then to a brown color. Good thing. The sun in the sub-Saharan African terrain is extremely strong. 6. Cows go to the bathroom around 15 times per day. They also produce, on average, 65 pounds of manure per day, or 12 tons in a year. No wonder farms are so fragrant. 7. Elephant seals spend their days hunting in the deep sea. In fact, the deepest recorded elephant seal dive was to a whopping depth of 7,835 feet. They can hold their breaths for up to 2 hours while deep diving, and they'll even stop blood from circulating to certain organs in the process. 8. Dolphins can stay awake for about 2 weeks at a time. When a dolphin does need to recharge, it has the ability to let half of its brain go to sleep and keep the other half awake. This allows them to come up for air and be alert to impending predators. 9. Once a mother kangaroo is pregnant, she will give birth about 30 to 36 days after conception. The joey is born about 2 centimeters long, or about the size of a lima bean. Then, they crawl into their mother's pouch and develop further for the next 9 months. 10. Homo sapiens have been around for about 200,000 years. Meanwhile, the oldest known beef fossil was found in a mine in the Huking Valley of Myanmar, Burma, and is about 100 million years old. 11. It's a common misconception that camels store water in their humps, and that's how they go long periods of time without water. In reality, on average, a camel can drink about 30 gallons of water in around 13 minutes. 12. A reindeer's eyes will change color based on the season. During the summer months, their eyes are golden, but in the winter, they change to blue. This helps them see better during the dark Arctic days. 13. African buffaloes hold votes to determine which direction the herd should go. This is decided based on what direction the majority of the females in the herd are facing. That's right, only the females are allowed to vote. 14. Certain species of female dragonflies will actually freeze mid-flight and go crashing down to the ground in an effort to fake their own deaths. They do this because they are trying to avoid mating with certain males. 15. Starfish have the ability to regenerate lost limbs. They are known to rip off one of their appendages if they feel like they are in danger. The original starfish will regrow its lost appendage, and the lost appendage will actually grow an entirely new starfish. 16. Manatees regulate their buoyancy by using flatulence. The gas they naturally hold within them makes them float near the surface of the water. When they want to dive deeper, they will pass gas, which helps them sink. 17. The Turritopsis dohrnii jellyfish can make itself younger. Once the jellyfish reaches maturity, it has the ability, under certain environmental stresses or threats, to revert back to its immature state. 18. Koalas have fingerprints that are similar to humans. They are so similar, in fact, that there have been reports of crime scene investigators collecting the animal's fingerprints at the scene. 19. Sloths spend the majority of their lives hanging upside down in the trees, and it can take up to 30 days for a sloth to digest a single leaf. Because of these two facts, sloths will only leave the trees to defecate about once a week. 20. Finally, mantis shrimp are extremely strong for only being several inches long. They can throw a punch with the same speed as a rifle bullet and only needs 0.003 of a second to hit its target. Don't mess with the mantis shrimp.